Hey YouTube, how's it going? I'm working on a third-person fantasy action roguelike with fully indoor procedural environments, lots of fun characters, and really cool items. I put a lot of work into this so far, and I think it's finally time I start sharing that with people. A little bit about myself first. I've been creating games as side project hobbies for about 6 years now, and I finally felt the time was right to try something a bit bigger. You know, not just a game jam game or a small project like my first game, Get Good, and do something big. I'm super into games, and I have a lot of personal favorites, and a lot of game inspiration I get is from playing games I really enjoy, but thinking, wow, it'd be really cool if they added insert cool thing. Since a lot of the companies that make these games aren't hiring, I've taken it upon myself to start making my dream game a reality. The original inspiration for this game was after I caught a Seblag video about marching cubes, which is a very interesting topic. At one point in his video, he creates a shape using the generator. This cave-like figure made me think, what if I just made a really large cave? I like the terrain these sort of generators make, so how hard can it be? First things first was to copy all the code over and mess around with the noise generator until I got something that looked vaguely like what I wanted. However, I quickly realized that generating top, bottom, and sides of a cave wall with an empty middle was asking a bit too much. I also didn't like the non-shared vertices flat shading that was going on. So first thing I wanted to do was change the generator to share vertices, which is actually pretty simple. It's basically just whenever a vertex is generated, create a map, and then whenever you try to make a new vertex, check if it's already in the map. And like that, we have smooth shading. Next up was to essentially copy all the code for the hard floor and make a hard ceiling, which actually isn't that bad as well, and turned out looking pretty nicely. So the next thing I wanted to fix was these very jagged edges that we see on the terrain. I do want to be able to generate smooth terrain, so if you've ever used Blender, there's a function in it called Vertex Smooth Vertices, which essentially makes an object look smoother. I did a little bit of research on how this is done, using my highly skilled Google tactics. Well, this was exactly what I was hoping for. This did generate a nasty artifact. Because the terrain is generated in chunks, each vertex does not know about the information on the chunk next to it. This took a little bit of fiddling, but I was finally able to smoothen this out, with a lot of headaches. I still didn't like these flat vertical walls that weren't very cave-like, so I updated the noise generator to generate terrain based on how close it was to the edge of the map, which turned out pretty nicely. Last but not least for the terrain was to create holes in the ceiling and floor. The story behind this game is essentially this. A group of characters is being held prisoner at the top of this cave. After escaping their prison, the only way out is down, so each level will connect to the next level via these holes in the ceiling and floor. The code for this is pretty simple. After randomly picking the coordinates, and if you're above or below a certain height, it simply sets the noise value at these coordinates to either a very high or very low value, which just makes a hole. Now I could finally start working on the gameplay, and I had the same thought in my head as the first time. How hard can it be? But first, I want to answer how this game's going to be different than similar games in the genre. My main inspirations for this game I think are pretty obvious. Risk of Rain 2, Fury, Tribes Ascend, and most recently, Lost Ark. Something I've always disliked about the game, with the exception of Railgunner and Loader, was the difference between playing your character very well on most characters doesn't really matter. There's no way to do more or less damage on Huntress or Acrid without the help of items, which is mostly out of your control. Additionally, all, in quotes, God runs, or runs longer than 40 minutes of Risk of Rain, really devolve. Your character becomes essentially unrecognizable, and the things killing your enemies is your items, more so than you. Your skills are essentially meaningless other than the amount of times they proc your on-hit items or on-kill items. With how fun some characters are, they stop being fun when you realize your abilities no longer matter. And more recently, in Lost Ark, the characters' attacks are super fun and extremely satisfying. However, the game that surrounds them and your access to them turns a lot of people off. So, taking the best of all my inspiration, I set out to make my first character, who the next video will be dedicated to. Surge. Surge was originally a character in one of my old scrap projects, so I didn't need to redesign him much. The first thing I implemented, besides a basic WASD and jump character controller, was his glide. Loader is a personal favorite character in Risk of Rain, but I always wondered why her passive on her punch does more damage the faster you're moving only applied to one move. So I thought Surge was the perfect character to give this ability to, and take my old love for Tribe's Ascent and implement it in this glide. His passive is pretty straightforward. The faster you're moving, the more damage you do. Since some attacks will bring you to a stop, this effect doesn't fall off immediately, but instead over time. Next thing to do was give him a basic attack, which I chose to be ranged, as hitting enemies while flying by them very fast and maintaining speed would be pretty difficult. Lastly, I took to making a test enemy, so I loaded up Blender, had all my character designing neurons together and produced this. He's pretty cute. I also made this. And that's where we're at now. I'm working with artists to finalize the designs on some characters, and I intend to make a devlog for each of those characters regarding their backstory, abilities, fun implementation details so you can get a first look at them and provide feedback to make them even better. So I'm going to wrap up this devlog. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. If you'd like to follow the progress of this game and be alerted when it comes out on Steam, sign up for the newsletter, and keep an eye on the website for more details that I didn't put into this video. If you're interested in any design pictures or general screenshots of the development, follow me on YouTube or any other of the social media links, and I'll see you next time.